Hey, it's a little dreaming is dangerous. The Proust Questionnaire Offstage in Dallas. I'm Betsy. What started 6 months ago as a look into the creative mind using 30 questions has now grown to 85 questions that change with every guest. These questions are fickle and not always kind. This time they go to musician and composer Mark Landson. A graduate of the Eastman School of Music, Mark has performed around the world on violin and viola in orchestras and chamber ensembles. But in Texas, he is best known for producing innovative classical music programming, including signature open mic events, as the founder and director of Open Classical. It's December 2019. Mark Landson, hello.
Hello.
What is the big passion of your life?
Music and specifically changing people's perception of new classical music, not only their perception, but the way that composers perceive the audience.
What strengths or assets do you have that give you an advantage?
Well, I'm pretty good at it. I'm a pretty good composer. I kind of know my stuff. I do.
What do you think is the governing aspect of your personality?
The fact that I refuse to quit.
Something you appreciate about the past 24 hours?
Right now, right here. I appreciate the moment, and I'm right here right now, so I appreciate it.
Your greatest failing so far?
Greatest failing so far. Why am I not world famous? I must have done something wrong.
The risk you took that paid off the most?
All of them.
Favorite musicians?
Favorite musicians. Okay, well, I'm going to go historically. Beethoven has got to be my favorite musician of all time. I would say on the pop side, my favorite musician is probably somewhere in between, Billy Joel, the Beatles, and maybe Bernard Sumner.
Is there one song that gets you through dark times?
One song that gets me through dark times. I would have to say it's a song that I wrote. But, I wrote this piece called Celestial Calling. And so it was written for the death of somebody who was very important to me. And it turned out very well. So I'm very happy with it. So it's a good one.
Where are you most comfortable?
Where am I most comfortable? I would have to say, in front of an audience, I'm pretty comfortable. But also, I would have to say in front of an audience. The most uncomfortable is when I am alone creating, because there is a responsibility at that moment to try to deal with the material and figure out how that's going to happen. So there's a lot of insecurity that naturally happens in those moments. So it's very uncomfortable a lot of times. But then when you get something, when you see the light at the end of the tunnel, when you're creating a piece of music, then I feel very comfortable because when I can see that it's being pulled into, view and pulled into form, that's cool. But when I'm in front of an audience, now anyway, it wasn't always that way, but it's like the work is done at that point, the work is done. And you just have to, get out there and have fun.
An event in your past you would like to erase?
Wow, that's a tough one. Certainly have made, I'm just going to go ahead and say this. There was somebody who was very special and important to me that I let down. And it was, and I lost a friendship on that. And I feel to this day, very sad about that, because even though it was a learning experience, and I try to say that, every mistake, because I've made a lot of mistakes, as everybody does. When you're trying to do difficult things, you make a lot of mistakes. But there was a mistake that served no purpose and served nothing except for just to, just tell me something that I already knew shouldn't have happened.
Who do you envy?
Who do I envy? I envy people that, I'm not a very good multitasker. I'm somebody who has to really focus intensively to get whatever I need to get done. And I'm very good at that, but I'm horrible at being able to multitask. And so I envy people who are able to do that, even though I know that I can't really work very well like that.
Who do you admire?
Who do I admire? That's interesting, because it's different than envy, because those people that I envy, I don't necessarily admire that, that quality necessarily, because who I admire people that, like Beethoven, for example, who had such great difficulties, going deaf. He was a person who had such amazing music inside of him. He had such great pain in his life. And he felt like, because he was going to commit suicide. And he felt like, I just can't do it because I owe the world what I have inside of me. And I'm just, no matter what the pain in this world brings me, I am going to see that to the end. So I admire that.
Last question. What was the moment that changed everything?
The moment that changed everything. I have a piece called Epiphany that deals with that, actually. And I had, I would say specifically, I was living in Granada, Spain, and I woke up one morning with a melody in my head as this incredibly beautiful light came streaming through the window. And that sort of changed my path completely in life, because I was at that point playing in an orchestra, playing in a professional orchestra, and I was going to continue doing that, my whole life. And that moment when I, came up with an idea that ultimately spun out to create a whole new, essentially, genre of new classical music, which was like a melding of pop sensibility and classical technique, that's my thing of what I do. And that was the moment that came to me, and yeah, that's what changed everything.
Mark Landson, thank you.
Thank you, Betsy.